it's become Pirates tradition, right? This has happened for a long time. They get a great young prospect. He comes up to the bigs. He looks good. And right away they think, all right, what can we get for him? How can we trade him for the next two prospects? And this endless cycle just goes on and on and on. Even the Rays, man, even the Rays signed some of their guys, right? Like they got Shane Baz on the mound last night against the Red Sox. He was a big prospect. Wander Franco, not a good result, but they did sign him. You know, they actually wanted to keep the best prospects there. Pittsburgh doesn't care. They don't want to do that. They just want the next prospects. They're like, this rebuild's not going too well. We'll just trade Paul Skenes. That has been thrown around in rumors everywhere. Ben Cherington, the GM of the Pirates, saying, no, we're not trading him yet. Of course, he's going to say that, but it seems to be a consensus around the league that they'll listen to trade offers here, trade packages. And so now, one of the teams that can afford to do this, because you also have to remember that you have to extend Paul Skenes if you're going to give up this much capital, even though he's got, 4 years of team control left. He's got quite a bit. But so that limits your trade pool. That limits you to the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, the Cubbies, and yes, the Red Sox as teams who can give you this capital and also extend him for a long time. The Yankees probably actually have the worst capital of any of those teams in terms of a prospect pool and young team-controlled guys. The rest of those teams have a lot to offer, and the Red Sox are chief among them. So I want to give you one of these trade packages that I don't think would ever happen in a million years, one that you'd consider, and a modified one that I think would be great for both sides, but specifically the Red Sox. We start with this one from MLB.com. Mark Feinsand, I think is how you say that. Mark Feinsand is proposing that the Red Sox send Tristan Casas, Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, Christian Campbell, and Tanner Houck. Your top three prospects plus Tristan Casas and Tanner Houck to Pittsburgh for Paul Skenes. Now, there aren't going to be many of these trade packages that sound ridiculous because Paul Skenes is 22, 23 years old. He's one of the best pitchers, 3 or 4 best pitchers in baseball right now, and he's got team control for 4 more years. Most of these are not going to sound crazy. This one sounds crazy. That's a little much for the Red Sox to give up all 3 of those top prospects. Because, Casas and Houck, go ahead, man, take them. Go ahead, take them. But all 3 of those guys, I think, is a bit far-fetched. Then there's this one from Yahoo Sports. The Red Sox receive Paul Skenes. The Pirates, in turn, get Roman Anthony, the number 1 prospect in baseball that they just called up yesterday, Franklin Arias, the Red Sox number 3 prospect, and their number 5 prospect, Josh Nixon Garcia. You know him as the password. So 3 of your top 5 prospects there apparently are going to be enough to get it done for Paul Skenes. I doubt that. I doubt you just send 3 guys who have a combined 1 major league game under their belt and get Paul Skenes. Highly doubt that. And then I got to thinking yesterday, with all the Jarren Duran trade talk still spinning around, should the Red Sox first call be to Pittsburgh? Like, should they just say, like, hey, look, we got all this. We got some great offers for Jarren Duran here from San Diego, from Philadelphia, from Kansas City. We've got offers here for Duran, and he's going to demand a pretty big haul. Here's a guy who finished top 10 in the MVP voting last year, was an All-Star, was the All-Star Game MVP, led the league in doubles and triples last year, is a stolen base machine, pretty good in the outfield, great top of the order kind of hitter. And he's got 3 more years of team control after this year. That's a really sexy asking price for a guy like that. So why don't you think about building a trade package around Jarren Duran for Paul Skenes rather than some great prospects? Because you can offer some pretty good prospects in there too. Like, what if I gave you Jarren Duran, who just has all those things that I mentioned, plus your number 2 through 4 or 5 prospects? So that would be Franklin Arias, that would be Luis Perales, that would be Josh Nixon Garcia, that would be all these guys. Plus I'll even throw in one of these other guys who's young and under team control. I'm talking about guys like Ceddanne Rafaela, who signed an 8-year deal last year. Brian Bayo, who signed an 8-year deal last year. That's a starting pitcher. Is he as good as Paul Skenes? No, he's not. Not even close, really, but he's still got a ton of potential, and he's really cheap for a long time. Pittsburgh loves that. And if you want to take Tanner Houck or Walker Buehler on a short-term deal, go right ahead. You want to take Tristan Casas? Go with God. Have fun, man. I'll give you Duran, Casas, Bayo, and those 2 through 4 prospects if you give me Paul Skenes. That is a makeshift one that I think actually makes a ton of sense for the Red Sox, but could make plenty of sense for the Pirates too. Okay, you've got a young major league pitcher with team control that comes back in Brian Bayo. You get a good pitching prospect, right, in Luis Perales. He comes the other way. And you get the team control guys who can fit in your major league lineup right now. That's Duran. That's Casas. Maybe it's Wilyer Abreu instead. Maybe it's Ceddanne Rafaela instead. But we will give them up. And I think the Red Sox would go as far as even throwing in Christian Campbell, who's having a bad month or so. But I think that kid's still the real deal. And it's one of the top guys they have. I think Pittsburgh would be dumb to not ask for 2 of the top 3 prospects, 2 of that trio of Campbell, Meyer, and Anthony. But the other thing we have to take into account here is if the Red Sox are for real, and if Craig Breslow is a real GM in this league for a good contending team, he can do what the Dodgers did to the Red Sox. He can hold Pittsburgh over a barrel here. Not to the same degree, obviously, that the Dodgers did to the Red Sox. Like, everyone in baseball knew that the Red Sox were going to have to trade Mookie Betts and that it was now. He had 1 year left on the contract. And like I mentioned with the Skenes situation, you only had a couple of teams that you could play ball with because there was only a couple that would give up real capital for a guy that they can extend. Right? Kansas City couldn't sign Mookie Betts long-term. The Astros can't do that. The Twins can't do that. The Dodgers can. The Yankees can. The Mets can. These are the only teams that can. And because you were bidding against one team, really, you got screwed. You got boned in that trade. Connor Wong, who somehow still does not have an RBI this season. Jeter Downs, who is on his 3rd franchise by the time he got to you, long gone. And Alex Verdugo, long gone. That's what you got for Mookie Betts. You have the opportunity to hold Pittsburgh over a barrel here. Again, it's a different scenario. It's about 4 years of team control versus 1. That's a big difference. But you have the opportunity to be like, you know what? No, I'm not giving you one of these top 3 guys, our top 3 prospects. And I'll wait. Go ahead and find someone that will. Go ahead and find someone that is going to give you better than the other prospects and the other team control major league ready players that we're going to give you and can actually sign him long-term. Go ahead. San Diego, maybe. But like, if you can do a deal that is centered around Jarren Duran, that is like trading a top prospect. And here's another wrinkle if you're Craig Breslow with the Red Sox. Like, let's just say it's not Duran in that deal. Let's say it's Christian Campbell and a couple of your other prospects like Perales and Garcia and those guys. Let's say it's those guys. Franco Arias is the other one I was thinking of. Let's say it's those guys plus, another Wilyer Abreu or Tristan Casas or Bayo or Houck or one or two of those guys too, but you don't touch Roman Anthony and you don't touch Marcelo Meyer. Because then what you can do is you'll have a top-line starter in Paul Skenes, and then you can trade Jarren Duran to San Diego for Leo DeVries and Ethan Salas, their top 2 prospects. Like, there's plenty of ways the Red Sox can manipulate this deal without getting rid of 2 of their top 3 prospects, let alone all 3 of them, as MLB.com would have you think that is the asking price. You don't have to do that. There are plenty of ways for the Red Sox to maneuver this, that they don't have to trade all three of those guys, and you have the best 1-2 punch in the American League at the top of your rotation with Garrett Crochet and Paul Skenes. Young guys that you would have for a long time. I think the Red Sox absolutely have to start making calls on this. I don't know what the Yankees can put out there, but you can't have the Yankees fleecing them like they did with Giancarlo Stanton. Thank God there's not a former Yankee running that team like there was in Miami. Like there is a chance here for sure. It probably doesn't happen until the offseason, if we're being totally honest. I doubt Pittsburgh's just getting rid of him in the middle of year 2. But we're not just talking about a hyped kid here. We're talking about one of the very best pitchers in all of baseball. Okay? His ERA plus has been over 200 in his season and a half year, both years. It's 220 this year. He's 120% better than the league average pitcher. That's incredible. He's leading the league in innings pitched right now. He and Crochet are going back to back to back here. Leading the league in whip, leading the league in hits per 9, home runs per 9. ERA under 2 as it was last year. It's even better this year at 1.88. Like, the kid's a machine. In his last 7 starts, his ERA is 1.12. And he has 1 win in those starts. He needs something better. The Red Sox are something better. And the Red Sox, out of all of these teams, the Dodgers are the only other one, really, that comes close. The Red Sox and the Dodgers are the only teams that can extend this kid and actually give you a package that's worthwhile. And let's break it down. I mean, if you're dealing with those two teams, maybe we'll throw the Mets in there because they're always spending just buku dollars. Even throw the Cubs in there if you want to. They've got an outside shot. 3 of those teams are in the National League. 1 of those teams is in Pittsburgh's division. There's only one that they would never have to see, really. And that's the Boston Red Sox. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What would it take for you to say yes to this deal for the Red Sox to go and get Paul Skenes? Do they need to get any of their top 3 prospects? Is there a way they don't have to touch any of them? Can the Red Sox actually show some balls and hold the Pirates over a barrel? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are well on the path towards 4,000 subscribers, and we need your help in getting there. We're talking Boston sports every day, live on YouTube, high noon Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the other videos on the channel, talking Red Sox and everything else Boston sports. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week.